Hey everybody, this is Alan Ting, and this is another episode of the Ultimate Success blog, helping you achieve your success faster and sooner. And in this episode, we'll be talking about the power of intent, the secret, because a lot of my clients have been asking me about, hey Alan, have you heard of this secret stuff? You know, it was a really big fad about a decade ago, and it's actually kind of old school, right? And they're like, that's a whole bunch of bullcrap that doesn't work, or is it? Well, let me ask you, have you watched the movie The Secret? Yes? Hey, I've seen a couple of you guys online. Hi. Hey, thanks for watching, by the way. So have you guys seen the movie The Secret? Have you guys tried it out? Have you guys really tried it out and see if it worked? Does it really work? Is it really you manifest your dreams or you think about things and things will come into your life? Does that really happen? Let's find out. Okay, so a couple of my, actually many of my coaching clients have been asking me like, hey, is that real or just like manifesting if I just sat there and think about like $1 million or the love of my life or owning a Ferrari or having a big house? Is that going to really happen to me? Well, let's find out. So I'm going to share with you the secret of the secret today because I believe the secret, if you talk to a lot of people who do a lot of manifesting, it is only one part of the puzzle, okay? Yes, it is very important to manifest, but if you don't have this other piece, you can sit there all day long and nothing happened. In fact, the first thing what I share with my coaching clients is number one, the biggest myth is if you just sit down and meditate it every day and think about the things you want to achieve, it's not going to happen. You're going to sit there and think about the $1 million you're going to make and you don't take any action. It is not going to happen, okay? So that is myth number one. You got to be able to take action on the things that you thought of, that they're your dream of. We'll talk about one in a little bit. And the reason why I'm sharing with you here is I'll talk about examples in my life. Because if you haven't heard my story before, my dad lost all of our life savings when I was in high school. Probably it sounds really bad back then, but right now it's probably the best thing that ever happened in my life because my dad we had a really bad investment in a house and he lost all of our life savings. And by the time I was in junior, at the time we lived in San Francisco, I was just very fortunate enough to have roof over my head and meals on the table, but that was all that my dad was able to provide. And at the time, I lived in what's called an in-law unit in San Francisco. If you're not familiar with that, what it is they converted the garage into living quarters. Yeah. And before I go into my room, there's a big water pipe right in front of my door. I have to duck my head in and duck my head out every time I walk in and walk out of my room. And I'm a pretty tall guy. I'm about 6 foot tall. And as you can see, that's a big problem that I have. Right. So because of that, I had to join the Army in order to pay for my college education. And through the Army, I learned so much discipline that it just did a massive transformation in my life. Okay? That's another story. But just kind of give you an idea where I started. I started out with zero. In fact, later on when I did graduate from college and I started working, I was getting laid off left and right. If you guys are familiar with the dot bomb days back in the 2001 timeframe, yeah. I had about 6-7 jobs within like 3 years. And at the time, I was burned out. I had about $500 left in my bank account, and I still live in that garage. Yeah. And oh, by the way, every day my landlord would come in with his Mercedes diesel Benz, and we had to close all the doors so we don't suck on the black that soot that comes out of the diesel. Yeah, and that's how we lived our life. Somewhere along the line, I learned that maybe there's a possibility. And a possibility that I can massively transform my life. So I finally got a job, right? And I had to take a step down job from my previous job. And I had to have 50% pay cut. But you know what? I'm going to take it anyway because I'm climbing a different corporate ladder and I know this is what I want to do in life at the time. And the crazy part about it is that year in 2003, that was like more than 10 years ago, was that I took that job knowing that I will make it. I had absolute certainty, right? So that year I made the most I ever made in my life. In fact, one of my friends went to a different company, saw the work ethic that I had, invited me to join him. But before I joined over, I'm like, hey, I love photography. I love camera. I'm wondering if the other company would help me pay for that. But also we call it the hiring bonus, right? So went through rounds of interview. At that time, this is 2005-ish, right? Nobody's giving out bonuses. The economy was horrible. But because of my track record, because I asked for it, I got a bonus. I literally got $3,000 bonus. And that helped me pay for my camera. It was so crazy. Now, from there, everything exploded. At the time, I didn't understand that was the power of intent, because that's actually what my friend told me about. This is before The Secret came out, right? He said, what you've just described about was from Wayne Dwyer, The Power of Intent. I don't know what you did, but what you're doing is phenomenal. Just keep doing it. So throughout 2005 and 2006, all I sat was a bunch of intent. And if you look at all the trophies in the background, and I'm not saying this to impress you, rather to let you know that, hey, this is possible. And I'm telling you, hey, thank you for giving me a like. Appreciate it. Thumbs up. And I'll talk a little bit about it. It was 2006, and I was doing account management for Hewlett Packard. And I like my dream. I want to be the #1 account manager. And by December 31st, we had stack ranking and number of revenue that we brought in. At the time, I think I brought in about $1.4, $1.5 million. So I was short. I was number 3 on top of the list, right? So because we have specific time stack ranking, and it was about 12 o'clock, and I see I'm number 3 position. So I went out to a parking lot, and I just sat in intent, like to the universe. I know it sounds kind of la-la, right? But basically like, hey, I love to get your help. I'm really, really close. And I ask for you to let me know about this opportunity, this deal that comes in that I even know about. That somehow, for some way, whatever is going to happen, I'm going to be number 1. Sure enough, by 1:30, guess what happened? A deal that I did not know about, roughly about $60,000 or so, came in. And that trumped me, became number 1. So that's one of the first stories, and I became the #1 Hewlett Packard software account manager that year. No bullshit, this is actual true story. Well, during the entire my entire duration at HP, I was looking at other sales rep. They have Rolex spiffs, watches, Rolex spiff, and for whatever reason, they're just not offering in our group. So I set an intent around that. Some way, somehow, somewhere, our VP will come back and said, well, we'll offer a Rolex spiff for you guys. So I set that intent. Sure enough, within 3 months, guess what happened? Our VP announced, like, hey, you guys, we're offering 2 Rolexes for you guys to win, but it's not an automatic win. Okay, so it's through a raffle system, and what's going to happen is if you hit 100% of your number, you get 1 ticket. If you hit 10% after that, you get 2 tickets, and then 10% after that, another ticket, and so on, so on, so on. So at the time, I probably did about 150%, 140%, so I got about 4 or 5 tickets, right? Now, this is out of a pot of 55 tickets, 56 tickets, around there. And the day of the drawing, this is the crazy part. The day of the drawing, the VPs, right, because we got 2 watches, right? The VP pulls out a ticket, and this is like over 100 something people, right? Pulls out the ticket and calls the name. And guess what happened? It wasn't me. We're like, oh, like this is what I've been dreaming about. This is, I set the intent and everything, right? It wasn't me. And, my heart is pounding because this is something I really, really wanted. And then he pulls out the second ticket. Now, the second ticket, he didn't announce just quite yet. He waited for about a minute before he said anything. And that minute seemed like forever, like eternity. And he goes, Alan Ting. And I'm showing this right now this is the watch that I want. No joke. This is no bullshit. Again, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just sharing with you over the last decades of me studying the power of intent, The Secret, what worked and what didn't work. And if you look at the trophies in the back, this has happened in, so that's my #1 HP award. And this is also from a different company called VMware. I've also sat in a parking lot. I'm like, I love to go to Hawaii because if we hit our number, we get to go to President's Club and we could go to hang out with. Everything's all paid for, and I love to somehow to get away, be able to do that. And I've sat in the parking lot every morning. I've sat in the tent over and over and over again, and sure enough, that year I got to be the President's Club. In fact, it was the competition was so high, only that top 2% of people get to go. Even if you hit your number, it doesn't mean that you get to go. Okay, you actually have to be the top 2%. So I got very, very fortunate to have gone to Hawaii. Somewhere along the line, I feel like I wasn't satisfied. I mean, I love what I did. I love my job. Pay was really well. But deep down in my heart, I just felt something was missing. And I went to Fiji. If you guys don't know, I'm part of Tony Robbins' leadership track. And I went to Fiji for his Life Mastery and Wealth Mastery course. And throughout the event, if you've never been to Tony's program, he's got what thing called a wheel, right? So he brings out the wheel, and out of random people in the audience, he draws a ping pong ball. You get to write your name on it. He puts it in a bucket and you spin it, and then he picks it out, kind of like a lottery, right? And once your names get picked, you go up there and you get to spin the wheel, and then there are all these different prizes. Well, I kept on setting intent that I will win the wheel. I will win the wheel. Nothing happens, right? And Wealth Mastery, Life Mastery is like a 14-day event or something like that. And sure enough, the last day, okay, out of about 60, 70 people, guess whose ping pong ball the facilitator draw? Me. They brought out, I was so ecstatic, right? So I got called on stage and I got to spin the wheel. And before I spin the wheel, I've set an intent that, hey, I want to win Date with Destiny. And it's a $5,000 ticket event. And, there's only one of them on all this big circular slot. So I spun it, and I didn't hit Date with Destiny. I hit Wealth Mastery and Life Mastery. But because they were the same ticket value, I got to go to Date with Destiny instead. So again, I'm not sharing this with you to impress you. I'm sharing with you because what is possible. So now I'm going to talk about how you can set your own intent based on your own, based on this acronym. And the acronym I want you to remember is called the BELIEF acronym. So BELIEF. Okay. The B in belief means you got to believe it. What is your belief system? If you're not familiar with what a belief system is, it's basically a table with 3 legs. Because once you find 3 examples and you truly believe it, you're truly emotionally attached to it, you're going to believe it. The best way I can explain that is, for example, my daughter. The first time she went to a doctor's appointment, to get her immunization shots, she went in all happy and she's laying on a scale and she's, taking her height and she was really happy. And then what happens? The doctor gives her an injection, okay? The second time she went to the doctor to get her second series of injection, went through the same thing. She's like, okay, this is not bad. Scale, getting her height measured, having the stethoscope, nursing, probing her around her chest. That was fine. And then what happens? And the injection. Okay, now the third time she goes back a month later to get her another series of immunization, guess what happens? As soon as we open the door to the clinic, she walks in, she started getting teary-eyed. And then she sees the bench where they measure her weight. She's starting to cry. Okay, now the nurse is putting stethoscope on her heart, on her chest, and she's not having it. She's like pushing it all the way aside. Okay. Here's the change. She associated that the clinic equals massive pain. Think about this for a second. She associated the clinic being massive pain. Why? Was it the stethoscope that's causing her to have massive pain? No. Was it the scale that she was lying on that caused her massive pain? No. Was it the height, the measuring height device. No, none of that. It was the needle. It was a syringe, right? But she associated all that into one big lump where she walks in the clinic and she's going to cry. To this day, we walk in, she still cries. Even though she's not getting a shot, she's getting her checkup. She doesn't want the stethoscope. She doesn't want any of that. Okay, so that is what a belief is. Even though a lot of times these are false beliefs, but if we see enough evidence, even though they might be wrong, that becomes the table and that becomes our belief structure. So how does that tie into the power of intent? See, the E in belief stands for you got to be able to elicit your conflict, right? You might say like, I want to make $1 million, but on the other hand is, you know what? I really don't want to work that hard for it. That's a conflict, is it? Or I want $1 million, but you know what? Really, realistically, I don't believe I deserve it because you know what? When I get it, I'll just spend it all, and maybe somebody else deserves it more than I do. You see that conflict? So this conflict is your belief, whatever your limiting belief is, right? So you got to be able to identify your conflict. Now, it just doesn't be with money. It could be your relationship. For the longest time, for me, I have this limiting belief of where I think, for whatever reason, I think beautiful girls are materialistic, and therefore I'm not going to date them. But I have this inner conflict because I'm attracted to them, right? So that's why, if you can see, if I started dating them, I was sabotaging a relationship, even though there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. And that was my limiting belief. It wasn't until I resolved it, I was able to find the love of my life, and I found my wife, who's a beautiful woman. She's in my life now. I'm very, very happy. Okay? So the L in belief is you got to be able to look for mentors. Okay? What's the point of reinventing the wheel if somebody else already done it? You got to go be able to find a coach, somebody who's trustworthy, somebody who can help you resolve the conflict that you have and help you believe and help you achieve the result that you want. Okay? And the I is being able to identify your action, and you got to be able to take massive action. It's like setting an intent would be like you putting on your GPS to the direction you want to go. Right? Hiring a coach, hiring a mentor would be like that person telling you specifically how to get there. Right? There's an old story where there's a bum. All he ever wanted to do in life, this bum, no homeless, no money, just living on the street. All he ever wanted to do in his life is to win the lottery. Okay, every day he goes pray, very diligently. God, please let me win the lottery. I want to live comfortably. I don't want to live homeless, be in a homeless state anymore. I want to go out and be able to help people, do good with their money, and prays and prays and prays and prays for a number of years consistently. And he's so frustrated because he never gets an answer from God. Well, one day God finally answered. He says, "Go buy a lottery ticket." Think about this for a second. I want to win the lottery, but never goes buy a ticket. How are you going to win? You got to be able to take massive action. So this is what the biggest missing link in the secret is all about. You can set all the intent you want, but if you don't take massive action, you're not going to get there. Okay? So that's what you got to be able to identify your action. You got to be able to take massive action. So the E in belief is you got to be able to execute. We just talked about so once you identify what you need to do and speaking with your mentor, and your mentor will help you point out hey, if you want to write a book, these are the sequence that you want to do. If you want to be able to save money, if you want to be able to retire financially, these are the steps you want to do. Now, if you can't afford a mentor, there's always plenty of books that you can read that you can check out on Amazon and buy their books, and they'll definitely help you. Right? But at the end of the day, you got to set your intent and you got to be able to execute as well. And oftentimes somewhere along the way, when you start setting intent, you start executing, there's going to be people going to be along the way to help you out. Right? Those are all the mentors and the coaches. Okay? So make sure to have an open eye, be open-minded, and ask for help. Now, last, the F in belief is you got to fail quickly. You also got to fall forward quickly, okay? Because you can set an intent and the thing that you want to do, and if it's not working out, you get defeated. Well, figure out what you're doing wrong. Keep doing it. Now, there's a time between what you set an intent to actually what you accomplish. In between, this is what's called lag time. Okay? A lot of people are just having this lag time and they become very impatient. And what happens? They give up. And then this dream dies. And they go back to the old world, the old routine. You don't want that. Okay? So you want to be able to execute, right? But you also got to have a plan. But at the same time, you got to be able to find out what's working, what's not working. If it's not working, change the process. Okay? Your goal could be still the same, but change the process, right? Ever heard of a little company called FedEx? Back in the 80s, right? So back in the 80s when FedEx came out, everybody thought it was a joke. Who want to use FedEx when there's the U.S. Postal Service, right? Well, now that we have FedEx and UPS, it's night and day because they guarantee you to get your document on time within the next day. Postal Service, they're working on it. But here's the thing. When FedEx sent out their first shipment, it took them 2 or 3 days to get there, and they promised it one day. We're like, okay, well, it's a nice problem to have because, first of all, our system works. The package did arrive. The only caveat, it arrived late, right? So they just looked at the entire process and see what worked and what really didn't work, okay? So for you, it's like, and for us, it's like, you got to be able to identify what's working and what's not working and make sure you change your process, change your approach as fast as possible and be able to do that, okay? So again, belief is, the BELEF is believe in yourself, okay? You got to believe it. Second is elicit your conflict. Third is look for mentors. I is be able to identify the action that you need to take. E is to be able to execute all your active, take massive action. And the F is be able to fail quickly and learn from your lesson. Hope this has been very impactful for you and change your life, helping you with your life. Love to hear back from you. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. Have an awesome day. Oh, by the way, make sure if you have comments and questions, feel free to answer the comment questions below.